If you're hearing this message, I'm on summer hiatus, but don't worry, I didn't leave you hanging while I'm outside. Listen to these episodes in the Coffee with Yvonne archive of some of my favorite interviews and marketing magic. I'll be returning this fall, freshly rested, by the way, with new interviews and new marketing breakdowns that you cannot miss while sipping coffee with me. And don't forget, you can follow me on social media to find out more about me and my life and my day to day while I'm away from the pod. You can find me at Instagram and TikTok, aka the Clock app, at Yvonne_creative marketer. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and I cannot wait to chat with you soon. Okay, bye!
Welcome back to Coffee with Yvonne, a show for creatives and entrepreneurs. I'm Yvonne Pearson, your host and the founder of Pink Dollhouse Marketing. And to give y'all a heads up, I am getting over a head cold, hence why we got the tea back out, y'all. We had to break the tea back out. And I was like, I could skip this week and not record, but there was so much happening in the marketing and creative space. I was like, let me pull it together and get you this content because we have a lot to talk about. A lot of good things, but a lot of changes that are happening that impact us in the marketing, creative, and entrepreneurial space. So grab your coffee or tea and let's chat. Okay, on this week's Marketing Magic episode, we're going to be talking about the Black fantasy book series, Children of Blood and Bone. They finally got their cast announcement. We have Sephora's new miniseries in partnership with Hulu. And then finally, the discourse around DEI and the impact on the creative community. So first up, and again, if you see me looking down at my screen for those who are watching on YouTube, please note that I always bring notes to the conversation to make sure that I am trying to give you a thorough and also a very objective point of view about these topics that we're discussing. So you know that my thoughts are fair and also well researched. Okay? All right. Okay. So first up, Children of Blood and Bone. This article came from USA Today. It was recently announced that Children of Blood and Bone will be turned into a movie, and also the cast has recently been announced. This will be produced by Paramount Pictures Film, according to USA Today. The author is Tomi Adeyemi. And to give you context about the book is a 2018 New York Times #1 best-selling fantasy novel from the Nigerian-American author. This is part of her Legacy of Orisha series that follows heroine Zele Adebola, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, a girl who is robbed of her magical birthright in the kingdom of Orisha by a brutal ruler and charged with the task of restoring her powers to the people. What I love about this is, before we get into who's actually been confirmed as cast, as someone who's always been a fan of Harry Potter, my mom can tell you many a colorful story about me and Harry Potter. But as someone who's always been a fan of Harry Potter and grew up with the book series, carrying around those big books in my backpack, I always wanted to see myself reflected in those characters. And, you know, we had that one brother man, I can't think of his name. He ended up on that show, How to Get Away with Murder. Even though we had him, he was not a starring role the way the other cast members were. And arguably so, Hermione, again, I'm sick, but Hermione was believed to be originally written as being a young black girl, but was changed in casting. It was always difficult for me sometimes to think that I couldn't be part of that fantasy because I wasn't seen as one of the main characters, if that makes sense. Then when we fast forward to Black Panther, which came out in 2018, there was such fanfare around Black Panther that I think for people like myself who always love things like sci-fi and fantasy and things like that, finally seeing ourselves as the main characters and not in supporting roles or having very small parts, but seeing ourselves as the hero, seeing ourselves as the people who are considered powerful and things like that, it was a game changer. It was a game changer for a lot of us. And that allowed me to dive even deeper outside of Black Panther into Black fantasy series or sci-fi. So right now, I'm reading Octavia Butler. If you're familiar with Octavia Butler, who is a famed Black sci-fi writer, And then I also have Tomi Adeyemi book Children of Blood and Bone. I have both books. I think there's a third book. I could be mistaken, but I have both books. And when I started following her and I heard rumors around this being turned into a movie a few years ago, I think during the pandemic, I got really excited because I was already excited with the way that she colorfully described her characters in this book. And to see that translated into a movie on a big screen, I knew they were going to do their big one. But then it kind of slowed down and I was kind of losing hope that this would be turned into a movie. But now that we have an official cast announcement, yes, I cannot wait for this. Okay. So let's get into it. All right. So this quote came from USA Today. The star-studded cast for the Paramount Pictures film has been announced, with Variety revealing that Cynthia Erivo, wicked. I ain't no singer, don't judge me. That was the best I could give you because I'm getting over a cold. Anyway, Cynthia Erivo, Viola Davis, snot cry Auntie Viola Davis, Idris Elba with his fine self, Lord have mercy, dancing Idris, who Yvonne too, and Amandla Silberg, I think she's from that movie, The Hate U Give, I believe, are amongst the main cast who has been announced. The movie will be produced by Woman King director Gina Prince Bythewood, who is signed on to direct, and I believe Regina King is rumored to be part of the cast as well, which will be really exciting. Again, for all of us who are part of that Black fantasy, universe with Black Panther, now with Blood and Bone, Children of Blood and Bone, Octavia Butler, and I've always loved things around like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones. This is for us. Get your big popcorn, bring all your friends, gift the books, all the things. We do have a while for this to come out. It's set to be released January 15th, 2027. Now, thinking about it from a marketing standpoint, that does make sense. Since we're in 2025, with the cast just being announced, it's going to take time to secure things like, set design, location for filming. You need to do the rollout properly because I need to see all the dollars behind this rollout. I need all the dollars behind this rollout. I am envisioning, and sit back with me, vision it. All the things that live in my head. I am envisioning alignment with Nigerian or content creators throughout the diaspora, showcasing how they interpret the book in terms of presenting fantasy in content, right? I would love to see integration with like AI and using content creators to create their own fantasy realm or reclaiming their magic could be a really great campaign. I would love to see activations in places like in Nigeria or in Ghana or, really highlighting the continent of Africa. Because what I've seen increase in production of films around it, we need to see more marketing deliverables and activations that center the continent. I would also like to see a lot of brand collaborations and brand deals highlighting Black and African designers. I would love to see that. And I want to see it done in a thoughtful way that's not cheap and cheerful, if that makes sense. Since African cultures are known respectfully for, their rich heritage when it comes to telling stories through clothing, I need to see that storytelling done as well through these campaigns if we were to do clothing lines associated with the rollout. There's so much that can be done for this. And I would also love to see another thought. I would also love to see tourism align with this movie. So if you, again, are a fan of Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, if you go on apps like Viator, you can actually go on tours specifically around the scenery or settings that highlight those movies. People spend money to have that experience of standing on the steps where, Cersei was like, shame, shame, or going to Diagon Alley or, having a butterbeer or something like that. I've actually, when I went to London, purposely went to the soundstage where Harry Potter was filmed because I wanted to be part and have that experience. I would love to see something like that done as well, with Nigerian tourism linking up with like Brand USA, which is a tourism arm for the United States, to create those cross-cultural tours and allowing for people to really experience the movie in real life, and then also highlighting the importance of culture in terms of this fantasy series that will become a movie. Next up, Sephora, the beauty brand, has launched a new mini-series in partnership with Hulu. Now, this is something really cool. And I love the fact, to take a step back, that beauty brands are really taking a risk in how they create and deliver their content. So this article came from Girls United, which is a platform owned by Essence. So according to Girls United, Sephora's Faces of Music documentary on Hulu explores how beauty and music come together through stories of 3 artists: Victoria Monet, Chappelle Roan, and Becky G. This series highlights how beauty is more than cosmetics. It's about representation, empowerment, and breaking beauty standards. Sephora girl, you did that. You did that. And let me tell you why you did that. In terms of marketing, this is so strategic that, how come I didn't think about this? But alignment with the music industry and showing women empowerment through beauty is a very smart dot to connect, right? Because when we think about the music industry in terms of expression and creativity and showing people who you are through that act of that platform of art, of music, right? Beauty does the same thing. It may not be the same way music does it through instruments, but the instrument may be a makeup brush, or it may be the way that someone strategically places like foundation or contours, or does their highlight or eyeliner, right? There's so much connective tissue between music and beauty. And also, beauty allows for people to visually express their emotions, which music also does the same. People emote emotions through music and how they're feeling. I also love the fact that, from a marketing lens, Sephora is expanding their reach and testing new concepts with this miniseries. Think about it. Hulu, which is a platform owned by Disney, Hulu has thousands upon thousands of customers, right? Sephora is initially taking this concept of promoting their product in an indirect way through people who are already familiar to this audience. And they didn't just choose one artist. They chose artists from across different genres of music. By doing so, they're not only allowing for viewers to connect with their favorite artists, they're also doing strategic product placement at the same time. This, in turn, through this miniseries, can help drive sales online or drive people in store to experience those same products that their favorite artist was using. It's very smart. It's very smart. It's initially allowed for them to expand their customer reach through a strategic alignment with this partnership with Hulu. Very smart, Sephora. I can't wait to watch it, because I need something to watch. I can't keep watching Abbott Elementary over and over again, which is one of my favorite shows. But I just love when brands think creatively and strategically about how to connect with their audiences and build new tactics that will increase engagement. Finally, and I'm coming to the end of my tea, so timing. But let's talk about the discourse around DEI. And for those who don't know what DEI stands for, it stands for, again, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, one of my favorite brands, Target, has become the latest company to roll back their DEI initiatives. I did pull this from Target's website from their press room. Just to let you know, I'm getting it from the actual source and not through a blog site or through other pieces of content that I have consumed. They have decided to rebrand their DEI initiatives under a new umbrella called Belonging Bullseye. And while This is frustrating for many. I am not surprised. I am not surprised because it appears to me, based on my personal knowledge, that it started rolling back initiatives before the actual announcement. Because, and this is full transparency, because DEI itself has been under attack since before the current administration has gone into office, because people have taken the word DEI and rebranded it instead of a word that centers inclusion, but rebranded as a buzzword that centers low performance or questions people's ability to do a job, or excuses for why people should, have the job that they have, etc., affirmative action, all the things. It has become under attack. And because it's become under attack, brands are now and businesses are now rethinking how they approach DEI, because I know from personal experience the impact of DEI. I know how important it is. And it is unfortunate that we had to move strategically in order to protect others, to make sure that things aren't fully dismantled, which benefits greater communities, instead of people thinking that it centers around one narrative. But here we are. And these 4 years are going to be very long if we continue to react to everything as it happens in real time. We have to be smart about what we do and what we choose to respond to. And instead of doing things like boycotting, which, again, I understand the frustration, but we have to be strategic in how we are moving ahead. And my good sis, Marissa Kearney, who is the creator of Target While Black and Retail While Black, brought up this really great initiative that I think we should all follow. She wants us to practice targeted buying. And instead of me trying to interpret her words, I am instead going to actually play the video so you can hear for yourself, so you can hear what she has to say.
Rollback is DEI, but I'm not surprised. Hey y'all, I'm Marissa Bell, but you may know me as Target While Black or maybe Retail While Black. For the past 4 years, I have shared Black-owned and Black-founded brands inside of retail stores. Now, from some of the experiences I was having and the conversations that I was having with brands, the writing was on the wall. And if you've been paying attention, you would have realized that for the past year or so, I have been significantly pulling back on the amount of content that I post on my Target page. But outside of those lived experiences I was having, there was really no proof or teeth to put behind this. But the biggest question that I'm being asked today is, are we still supporting Target? Here's what I need us to do. 1, if you haven't already, please go make sure to follow my Retail While Black page. 2, instead of boycotting stores, I want us to practice targeted buying. I don't know if you guys have seen the list of all the stores that we shouldn't be supporting anymore, but the list is getting long and people are getting fatigued. By practicing targeted buying instead of boycotting, we can still vote with our dollars, not alienate anyone who only has certain stores, avoid fatigue, and make sure we are still supporting Black-owned businesses that are inside of these stores. From what we know about how can build generational wealth, we cannot and should not abandon the Black-owned brands that are inside of these stores. To practice targeted buying and still make a stand, you can shop small, Black-owned, or with only brands that are aligned with your values. Per usual, y'all, retail, but make it Black.
So just like Marissa said, we have to be strategic about how we choose to support in store. It's not just about doing a full boycott, because for those small and minority and inclusive owned businesses, when we do a full boycott, we don't understand that that also has backlash on those businesses. For example, say a business buys 50 of your lipsticks, right? Now that you have 50 of those lipsticks on the shelf, that product now has to be moved because they have taken the risk of putting your business on their shelves. So now you have to get that product off the shelves and into the hands of the consumer. So when that product does not move, the first step is discounting it. Put it on sale, 25% off. If it doesn't move even more, you do a deeper discount. For the consumer, while that seems like a benefit, it also is a ding to the business. The business itself is now like, oh man, we took a risk and gave them 50 of this product, but it's not moving at all. The business side of it is going, We gave you a chance. Your product ain't moving. We put it on sale, it didn't move. We put it on a deeper discount, it didn't move. The last resource for that is they remove the product completely from the shelf and send it back to the actual business owner. The business owner now has 50, let's be realistic, maybe like 40 of that product that they now is sitting in their warehouse or wherever they keep their merchandise. So now not only do they have to do a chargeback to take a loss from not selling that product, they now have from this retailer, instead of proving that they can sell or move product, now it's proven to the retailer you can't move product like you thought you could. So there's no need for us to expand the amount of stores or doors, as they call it, where your product will be sold. Because initially, sometimes what they do with retailers, instead of taking a bigger risk, they'll do a smaller buy, for example, the 50 in maybe 1 or 2 stores. If that buy is successful, then they expand. By us boycotting or not supporting these businesses in our targeted buying, those businesses are the ones who truly pay for our decisions. Like Marissa said, we can be targeted buyers in supporting the businesses and the brands that we believe in and only supporting them when we shop in these stores. And I'm not just talking about Target, I'm talking about everybody. Because no matter what we truly think, even though a business may not say they're rolling back their DEI initiatives, they may have already started rolling them back and we just don't know, to avoid the blowback in publicity from people writing them off or saying that they're never going to shop there anymore. Sometimes businesses choose to do that because it's a lot easier to say nothing than to say something. So it's already difficult for smaller businesses to build up enough to get into these stores, but to have their product removed from the shelves or just not sold completely because of our anger, that is not coming from a strategic place, in my opinion. That part is even harder, because how are we supposed to root for these small businesses if we don't support them? On the other end, if we choose to only support by buying online, please give these small businesses grace. These are not small businesses that have huge warehouses or multi-billion dollars behind it to, produce and create their products. A lot of times, it's maybe 2 or 3 people who are sending out these orders to you. It's maybe a garage where they could store their product because they can't afford to have a warehouse to keep their stuff. By understanding that these businesses are literally building brick by brick, we can't complain if our order doesn't come in 2 days. It's not Prime. These are literally businesses that are building from the ground up. We can't complain if the product isn't perfect the first time it rolls out. They are learning. We got to give people space to grow, people space to learn, and to evolve. We also need to be mindful that supporting one time does not equate support. It doesn't. You can't say that you bought something once and then never show up again. These businesses rely on repeat customers. So by being a repeat customer, you are truly showing that you support the business. For example, if you try out a makeup brand, right? And in trying out the makeup brand, you say, oh, the formula wasn't perfect. I'm not going to try it ever again. This is why I don't support Black-owned businesses. And you go right back to the brand that just last year just added your shade in their mix of product offerings. How does that help that business grow? Did you send a DM to that business, giving them constructive feedback? Or did you just write them off and go right back to what you knew before because it was comfortable? If it's the latter, then you're not helping that business grow by just writing them off and saying that they're not up to the standards that you're used to. We also need to think about starting to incorporate Black or minority inclusive owned businesses into the gifts that we give other people. I know it is our default to go to, again, brands that we recognize, but maybe when we're giving gifts, pick up a Black-owned business, pick up a minority-owned business, an inclusive business that they may have been wanting to try or may not have been aware of, and include that in a gift instead of what they're used to. For example, Sephora Sense, who was a guest recently on the podcast, I'll have that episode up eventually. But she owns her own candle making company and is expanding her product line. I went to the pop-up event, and I've been following her for a while anyway, but I went to a pop-up event which had her candles featured, and I bought, I think, like 3 or 4 candles from her. That same day, I was on my way to Bath & Body Works to buy candles because they had the annual candle sale. Instead of me buying candles from Bath & Body Works, I supported this woman-owned business, this Black woman-owned business instead. Someone I had been following for quite a while. But that day, I put my money where my mouth was, and I made a purchase. And the moment I lit up her candles in my apartment, I was like, oh my God, these candles smell amazing. And I was telling her during our interview how great these candles smell and how much I love them. Now I have in my mind, when it's time to give people gifts for the holiday season, to give her candles instead of automatically going to Bath & Body Works or other places where I go find candles. It is important for us to make sure that, again, we are supporting these businesses and we're giving constructive feedback for them to grow. Don't just criticize and disappear. That's not how we fix things. And in terms of capitalism is working exactly how it's supposed to work. I know we keep saying we're not our grandparents, but considering that our grandparents back in the day had access to a lot of small-owned businesses right in their neighborhood, we don't have that same access like we used to. Right? Even though for those of us who live in major metropolitan cities and areas, while we have access to more, we still have to make the effort to find them. And for those of us who live in smaller or rural areas where Target, Walmart, Sam's Club, or any of these other big conglomerates are the only solutions that we have, give them grace that they cannot boycott or just say they're going to stop going to these businesses the same way we can from a privileged perspective. While social media is a great place to show opinions or share opinions, we can't allow for the discourse to distract us from the greater goal. The greater goal is making sure that we protect our creative community in the space because it is going to be under attack over these next 4+ years. And we had to make sure that we're putting things in place to build our creative and our business communities to be strong enough to withstand the storms that we're going to face. And I hate this for us. I hate for us that it always seems to be a trend to get on to aligning with Black people or minority or inclusive groups. And once the trend is over, they drop us. But we haven't not been here before. This ain't a new song, just a different record. And unfortunately, we got to keep playing the record that's in front of us until they change their tune. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's chat. Thank you so much for being patient with me as, again, I am getting over a cold. Don't forget to follow Coffee with Yvonne on Instagram and Threads at Coffee with Yvonne. If you want to sign up for my newsletter to get personalized audio and video content, go ahead and do that. You can also find Marketing Magic breakdowns there as well. You can find that information by visiting the show notes. For my personal account, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, aka the Clock app, at Yvonne_creative marketer. And also, I am on Fanbase. I got to keep plugging that one in. To learn more about me and my business, go ahead and visit pinkdollhousemarketing.com. Or again, you can find me on Instagram. You can slide into my DMs. That's cool. At pinkdollhousemarketing. Thank you so much for your patience and also for bearing with me even as I drink my tea. And I cannot wait to chat with you soon. Okay, bye! Coffee with Yvonne is produced and edited by Yvonne Pearson. Coffee with Yvonne is created by Pink Doll House Marketing. You can catch the latest episodes by subscribing to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.